Welcome to SourceFed Nerd and Required Reading. This is a show where we get to read comic books and we talk about them with you guys via Twitter and stuff like that, right, Steve?
Yeah.
I'm Trisha Hirschberger.
I'm Steve Zaragoza. Yeah.
And this week we read Superman for All Seasons by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale.
Turn. Superman for all the seasons. Turn.
I remember you doing this last week. Now, Steve, what were your initial impressions?
I was kind of bored, honestly. I love Superman. I think Superman's a great character, and I like the art a lot in this because it was very like classic. It seemed
Tim
like
Sale.
Yeah, it seemed very like I'm reading 1920s, 1930s.
Did you know it was Norman Rockwell inspired?
It definitely does seem very Norman.
It looks like it, right? Like there's that one part where they're sitting at the soda shop.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like though there were some parts of it that were just kind of like there's a lot going on in the frame, and it kind of like has this very harsh look to it.
You know, I have to say that too. There were a couple panels where I just thought there was way too much dialogue, and I kind of didn't know if I was reading it out of order, and it took me out of the story a little bit.
Yeah.
But my initial impressions, my initial thoughts on this after having read the whole thing, are that overall I really liked that it wasn't. Well, it was Superman's story, but it was Superman's story from 4 different viewpoints. So for those of you that haven't had a chance to read Superman for All Seasons, it's 4 different seasons, and each season is narrated by a different person in Superman's life. So it is kind of an origin story, but more just like his story and how he decided to become a superhero, told from his father, Pa Kent. Told from Lois Lane is the second one, and then Lex Luthor, and then Lana. Lana was my favorite.
Lana. It's very tame Superman stuff. It's like you're not getting too much of the adventurous, action-y type stuff. Truth be told, I was falling asleep a little bit in some parts of that book.
I kind of felt like that a little bit with Pa Kent's version of the story, just because I feel like that's a perspective I've seen before. But seeing Lois's perspective of when he first comes to Metropolis was really cool. And P.S. Lois Lane, Tim Sale, good job drawing that hottie, because she was smoking. However, one of my critiques of this would be that Superman was not sexy. He was super beefcakey. I'm not into the thick neck. Like, I know it sounds silly to say, oh, Superman was too beefcakey because he's Superman, like he's supposed to be all jacked. But, yeah, he didn't do it for me.
He had like a Batman the Animated Series Bruce Wayne thing going on for me. That's
a
what
little
he kind of
bit.
looked like to me.
I like my Clark Kent Superman to be drawn a little sexier.
The things that I did like about the book were like the seasons are really cool.
That was
seeing
cool.
like all these different seasons and all these different perspectives. I like the concept a lot. I just wasn't very entertained by just kind of like, I want Superman, like, cool, iconic things happening.
I think you wanted more, like, splitting a meteorite in two,
No,
like,
not
more of that
necessarily.
action. This was more kind of touchy-feely.
It's not that I wanted more action. I
Feely
just wanted
Superman.
more, like, mythos. I wanted more, like, Superman hanging out with the Justice League.
I really liked the idea that we were exploring Clark's decision of, I have these powers, what am I going to do with them?
Yeah.
That was cool to me. I liked kind of exploring that inner monologue, but again, not from his voice. I was reading a little bit, and Jeff Loeb had said, you know, he didn't feel comfortable writing as Superman because then you are Superman, which is why he did it from the 4 different viewpoints. He's kind of known for that narrative style, so we got a lot of that, and I enjoyed the inner monologue.
Yeah.
Even though it made for a less action-y comic for sure.
Yeah, which isn't really what's wrong with it. I just think that the story was just not. I don't know. These other perspectives of Superman are interesting, but I feel like we know so much about Superman at this point. It's like we all have our own perspectives of Superman that are kind of already in line with those perspectives.
For me, my heart just broke when Clark took her out to the field and was like, I have something that I have to tell you, or I have something I have to show you. And she thought, oh, he's going to propose. As soon as he shows her that he has these incredible powers, she said all of her hopes and dreams crashed around her. Like, all of that to me was so heartbreaking.
Maybe it was a little too goody for me. It was a little too like I'm reading a 1950s version of a Superman comic, which is cool because you don't really have that. I mean, you do have that.
Yeah,
but, like,
that's kind of
these days you don't. I mean, and I just felt like it was a little too 1950s. I want my science and my sci-fi tech. And it's kind of sad that like you have the Pete character, you have Superman that wants to help people and save people, and nobody realized that Pete had severe OCD. Very severe OCD. He had to rub that damn statue every time and say, I want to be a millionaire. Every time he rubbed the damn statue.
Is that what it was? It was OCD?
I'm sure it is. Isn't that OCD?
It wasn't ambition at all.
No, it's OCD because he had to rub it every time. I'm gonna be a millionaire, I promise. Superman never noticed that. We reached out to you guys, the viewers and the readers alike, on the Twitter to see what you guys thought about the comic as well.
River Cruz says, For All Seasons wasn't exactly the most gripping comic, but it was a relaxing read and I thoroughly enjoyed it. He kind of agrees with you, Steve.
And with a name like River Cruz, you want to have a relaxing time reading your comics.
It's a River Cruise.
Sal Says What says, Superman For All Seasons is a lovely Norman Rockwell tribute to the quintessential mythic American hero. But he actually said normal Rockwell, which is hilarious. Because he said normal Rockwell.
John Turner, at John Jonah Turner, says, Superman For All Seasons was disappointing. The monotonic narrative didn't break new ground. It was missing the super.
Yeah, a little too drama-rama for me.
But then Cam says, top 3 Superman comics ever. So you guys have to read The Sandman and The Long Halloween as well. All right, so that's it for this week's required reading. Next week we are going to be reading
Amelia Cole and the Unknown World. A friend of mine, DJ Kirkbride, is a writer on that book, and I'm very excited to jump into it from IDW.
Have you ever read it before?
I have not read it before. This is going to be my first time.
All right, so it's probably going to be the first time for many of you out there as well. Make sure that you get a chance to read it before next week, and tweet us at #SFNComics, your thoughts. And make sure to also tweet us #SFNComics, your thoughts on the pool list. Speaking of, it's time for DJ's pool list.
DJ!
Hey, I'm DJ Wooldridge, and welcome to the pool list for October 2nd. Villains Month is finally over. Finally, we can move on. However, Forever Evil is still going strong with its 2nd issue, which comes out this week. Also, Batman Black and White #2 lands, and with the last chapter being such a treat, I'm stoked for the next installment of this anthology series. The mature imprint Vertigo is having a big week with the release of the 3rd issue of the incredible Trillium, and another anthology called The Witching Hour. They're also launching another brand new series with Hinterkind #1, which follows a young woman who faces a brave new world that has been reconquered by mythical creatures that hate humans. So, you know, good times for her. Meanwhile, Image brings us the next issue of Greg Rucka and Michael Lark's intense Lazarus. Rucka and Lark are a match made in heaven and bring their typically gritty storytelling to this sci-fi series. Over at Marvel, we see the next issue of Mighty Avengers drop, and so far it's been a fun matchup of street-level heroes facing a cosmic-level threat. But my pick of the week is Phantom X Max #1. Marvel's mature Max label is perfect for their #1 mutant super thief, and Phantom X is my favorite Marvel character, so this was a no-brainer. So that's our pull list for this week. What are you grabbing? Hit us up on Twitter with the #SFNComics, and you can be in this ticker right here. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, or you can click this annotation below for the rest of our videos. My name is DJ Wooldridge, and this has been the pull list. Side note, Superman For All Seasons is one of my favorite Superman stories of all time, mostly because it emphasizes the man. I feel like some superhero movies focus a little too much on the super. Man of Steel.